It started exactly 1 week after I moved into apartment 6B. The first night, I barely noticed it. 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. I glanced at the clock beside my bed. 2:13 a.m. I assumed it was another tenant. Maybe someone had the wrong apartment. By the time I reached the door, the hallway was empty. Long, silent. Not a single light flickered. No footsteps echoed down the corridor. Nothing. I shrugged it off and went back to bed. The second night, it happened again. 3 knocks. Exactly the same. Exactly 2:13 a.m. This time I opened the door immediately. No one. Not even the sound of an elevator closing. Just an empty hallway stretching in both directions. I checked the stairwell. Nothing. Whoever had knocked couldn't have disappeared that fast. By the 4th night, it had become impossible to ignore. The knocks always came in the same rhythm. Never louder, never softer. Always 3. Always at exactly 2:13. Curiosity slowly became obsession. I bought a cheap security camera online and mounted it above my front door. If someone's messing with me, I thought, I'll finally catch them. The next morning, I opened the footage. At exactly 2:13 a.m. The recording glitched. Not for long, just 7 seconds. When the picture returned, my hallway was empty. No visitor, no movement, no explanation. I blamed the camera, cheap electronics, bad Wi-Fi. It made sense. Until the next night, the knocking returned. This time, I didn't answer. Instead, I stood silently behind the door, waiting. Someone or something stood just inches away on the other side. I couldn't hear breathing, couldn't hear footsteps, only silence. After nearly a minute, 3 more knocks, slower, almost patient. I looked through the peephole. Nothing. The hallway was empty. I blinked several times, still nothing. Yet the knocking continued. Right in front of me, I stepped backward. For the first time since moving in, I felt genuinely afraid. The next day I mentioned it to my elderly neighbor, Mr. Hahn. His face turned pale. "You hear it too?" I frowned. "What do you mean?" He looked around the hallway before lowering his voice. "It always starts with the door." "What?" "The last tenant heard the same knocking." "What happened to him?" Mr. Hahn didn't answer. He simply walked back inside his apartment and quietly locked the door. That night, 2:13 a.m., knock, knock, knock. I ignored it. 5 minutes later, the knocking returned. Except, it wasn't coming from the front door anymore. It came from my bedroom wall. 3 slow knocks, directly behind my bed. I froze. My apartment shared no wall with another unit. Behind that wall was the outside of the building. There was nothing there. I slowly placed my ear against the wall. Silence. Then, one gentle knock, barely loud enough to hear, only inches from my face. I couldn't sleep. The next morning, I searched the building's blueprints online. The layout matched what I'd expected. Nothing behind that wall except open air. That should have comforted me. Instead, it made everything worse. Days passed. The knocking spread. First the front door, then the bedroom wall. Soon, it came from the ceiling, the floor, even inside my closet. Always 3 knocks, always 2:13 a.m. I stopped sleeping. Coffee replaced meals. Every sound made me jump. My coworkers noticed I looked exhausted. I lied, said it was insomnia. How could I explain the truth? One evening, while checking my mailbox, I found an envelope with no stamp. Inside was a folded piece of paper. It contained only one sentence. "Do not answer the 4th knock." No signature, no explanation, just that warning. I laughed nervously. There had never been a 4th knock, only 3. Until that night. 2:13 a.m., knock, knock, knock. Silence. I counted the seconds. 10, 20, 30. I started relaxing, then knock. A fourth knock, soft, almost polite. Every hair on my arm stood up. Something deep inside me screamed not to move. I stayed frozen. After several minutes, nothing else happened. Morning finally came. I checked my security camera. This time, there was no glitch. The hallway remained empty. But something caught my eye. The doorknob. It slowly turned. Not enough to open, just enough to prove someone or something had tried. I reported everything to the landlord. He stared at me for a long time. Finally, he sighed. "So it's your turn." "My turn?" He unlocked a cabinet beneath his desk. Inside were dozens of tenant files. Every folder had one thing in common: a handwritten note clipped to the front. 2:13 a.m. He handed me one. The tenant had disappeared 4 years ago. Another. 3 years ago. Another. 8 years ago. Every single report mentioned the same knocking, the same time, the same empty hallway. "Why are people still renting this place?" I asked. The landlord looked exhausted. "Because nobody believes the stories." I packed my belongings that afternoon. I wasn't staying another night. My new apartment was across town. Completely different building, different neighborhood, different life. By midnight, I had almost convinced myself the nightmare was over. I lay down, closed my eyes. For the first time in weeks, I felt safe. Then, 2:13 a.m., knock, knock, knock. Not at my apartment door. Inside the moving box beside my bed. 3 slow knocks echoed from inside the sealed cardboard box. I backed away. Another knock, then another. The tape sealing the box slowly peeled itself open. Inside, there was nothing except my old apartment key. I had left it with the landlord. I was sure of it. Yet there it was. The key slowly slid across the cardboard toward me, as if someone invisible had pushed it. I threw the box into the hallway and slammed my new apartment door. The knocking stopped. I stood there until sunrise. The next morning, I convinced myself exhaustion had finally broken my mind. I threw away the key, deleted the security footage, changed my phone number, started over. Months passed. No knocks, no nightmares. Life slowly became normal again. Until yesterday. I came home from work and found a package waiting outside my apartment. No shipping label, no return address. Inside was another key. This one wasn't for my apartment. Attached to it was a tiny brass tag, 6B, beneath the key, a folded note. Only 4 words. "We're still knocking." I don't know who sent it. I don't know what lives behind those knocks. And I never found out what happened to the tenants who disappeared before me. But every night, just before I fall asleep, I stare at the clock, watching the minutes crawl closer, because somewhere, someone, or something always knows when it's 2:13 a.m. If you enjoyed this chilling tale, subscribe for more horror stories. And remember, if you ever hear 3 slow knocks in the middle of the night, don't be too quick to answer.